Previously on Bearded Bible Brothers.
Question is, why are Christians so excited about the red heifer? Well, they see it as an opportunity for Jesus to come back soon and they get their ticket out of here.
So knowing that, there's a lot riding on a red heifer coming in, because this is what they need if Messiah is going to be bringing this red heifer in.
We are here in this amazing cave. This place is so popular, Josephus himself referenced it as the Royal Caverns.
Passages, there's tunnels everywhere. They believe that only 50% of this cave has been discovered.
In this series so far, we have brought you more adventure, more excitement, more MacGuffins. MacGuffins? MacGuffins than any Indiana Jones movie could ever hope for. We've searched for temple treasures. We've uncovered the original resting place of Solomon's temple. We've searched for the Ark of the Covenant. We brought you unprecedented access to the red heifer. We've unlocked the mysteries of doom behind the coming third temple. But the game is not over yet. It is time to reveal not only the evidence of the existence of King Solomon, but the truth behind the master poser, King Herod. Yeah, trigger warning. This is going to trigger everyone. Everyone.
1 Chronicles 22, 7 through 10, David said to Solomon, "My son, I had it in my heart to build a house for the name of the Lord my God. But this word of the Lord came to me, you are not to build a house for my name, because you have shed much blood on the earth in my sight. But you will have a son, his name will be Solomon. He is the one who will build a house for my name."
Well, well, well. If it isn't the old Bearded Bible Brothers here at the Western Wall again. Christian, fantastic to see you. Hershey, my man, welcome. This place is incredible. We've been here before, but coming here together as a group, I know there's something powerful about that. It's a lot of history here, and I'm excited to go over all this stuff today.
Yeah, and today we are going to destroy people's worldviews. Dr. Christian here is going to give us an entire paradigm shift on his view of the temple and what actually took place. And man, I'm excited to get up in there and hear what he's seen, what he's discovered, and what the Lord's actually revealed to him. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Thanks, Hershey. One of the things that really just profoundly struck me as I started studying the archaeology of the Bible is that, there was almost nothing that was being pointed out about Solomon. Like, where is Solomon? The Bible talks about him being the greatest builder of Israel, of their history. And yet when I was studying and people were saying, well, here's who built this and here's who built that, where's Solomon? Well, we can't find him. I'm like, wait, but you have stone from the Canaanites, you have stone from, the Babylonians, you got stone from, Egyptians when they came and did something. You've got, you can tell their destructive layers, you can tell the Umayyads, the Byzantines, you can find everybody, but you can't find Solomon.
It's like it's on purpose.
That doesn't make sense, right? But when I look at these massive stones, I see the stones that the Bible talks about that were, these massive, costly stones that Solomon used to build his temple, right? And a great courtyard. And I think, there must be something wrong. So as I studied that, it just wouldn't let go, right? These stones kept calling me and saying, something's wrong, right? The Bible's telling us that, these stones in front of us are something we should be paying attention to. Yeah. And yet it's man that's going, no, that's, pay no attention to the man behind the green curtain. It's not what you think it is. And I'm like, yeah, I'm pretty sure it's what I think it is. So we're gonna go and really go up there and take a look at some of these things, right? And really show you from his time and the things that we need to look at.
So you're saying that the rocks are crying out. Is that what you're saying?
That sounds almost biblical, sir.
Every once in a while.
Yeah, I like it.
Let's go check it out.
This could be the greatest case of mistaken identity in all of history. Forget the argument between whether Shakespeare really wrote his own garbage stories or not. King Herod This wicked half-breed Edomite has been given credit by modern archaeologists for constructing the current Temple Mount complex you see today, as well as the Tomb of the Patriarchs monument, even Mamre. Why is it that historians can't comprehend that it was Solomon, the wisest man ever to grace planet Earth, who constructed the most advanced temple complex on planet Earth? Before you all cry blasphemy, let Dr. Christian Widener present his case. Then we can decide after reviewing the evidence, because it's not like we can carbon date stones. Seriously, we can't carbon date stones. 1 Kings 5:15-17. Solomon has 70,000 carriers and 80,000 stonecutters in the hills, as well as 3,300 foremen who supervised the project and directed the workers. At the king's command, they removed from the quarry large blocks of high-grade stone to provide a foundation of dressed stone for the temple.
I cannot believe that Caleb tricked me again into going to a death tunnel. Yeah, you know what a death tunnel is? It's the one that has the passage that's like 5 foot tall and like 2 feet wide, of which I am neither. There's gotta be an easier way to get to the foundation of Mount Moriah. We are literally going to the base of the western wall. The part of the wall that's visible from the Kotel we were just at is 62 feet high. Well, that's the visible part. It's actually 105 feet tall, which means we're going 43 feet underground into a tiny ferret hole. I hate ferrets.
All right, this is incredible. We are beneath the earth. Here's the Western Wall. You know, Doctor, I heard from Josephus, since we're good friends, that Herod the Great expanded these walls, or at least that's what people credit him with saying. What say you about the interesting situation of Herod being credited for this building project?
Right. I think it's a case of really misreading Josephus. And Josephus is writing, you know, in an era that understands mostly what's going on and what the time is. And he's not really trying to be careful to be not misunderstood, perhaps. But he clearly talks about all the stuff that Herod built on the top of the Temple Mount.
Yes.
And then he switches over to talking about this great courtyard that, you know, that Solomon built. And so yes, people read that Herod was the one who was building all this stuff because he's described, you know, as building the buildings on the top surface. But then he clearly transitions to King Solomon, and he's now talking about King Solomon building this outer courtyard with these giant stones and fastening them together with iron and placing them in a sealed position that would be for all time immovable, as we mentioned before. And so when you see that he started talking about Herod, but he's now talking about what Herod was building on, and that was by King Solomon, then I think that totally changes the testimony, and you see that Josephus is actually affirming Solomon as the builder of the Temple Mount rather than Herod.
That's right. 1 Kings 6:37-38. The foundation of the temple of the Lord was laid in the 4th year in the month of Ziv. In the 11th year in the month of Bul, the 8th month, the temple was finished in all its details according to its specifications. He had spent 7 years building it.
All right, and so the other thing about these stones is here we are underground, and you can see really how much stonework that Herod would have had to have done if this was his work. And you know, the neat thing about Josephus is it tells us how much labor he had. He had 10,000 men working for 8 years. It increased to 19,000 by the end of that. So that's like 150,000 man-years of labor, and that's a lot. But is it enough to do the stonework that we see here? And I'm thinking, no, not nearly enough. But when you're looking at just the top layers, you can kind of see, oh, well, maybe it's not that much stonework. But the more they've excavated and the more stonework they've uncovered, the more ludicrous that idea becomes.
Meaning Solomon would be the only one who had a large enough workforce.
He's the only one who had enough manpower to do that. And we see that in 1 Kings when it talks about his people.
Hear that, King Herod? You just got exposed by math. Just wait, we got more math. I promise you it'll be fun. 1 Kings 7. It took Solomon 13 years, however, to complete the construction of his palace. He built the throne hall, the hall of justice. All these structures from the outside to the great courtyard and from the foundation to the eaves were made of blocks of high-grade stone, cut to size and smoothed on their inner and outer faces. The foundations were laid with large stones of good quality, some measuring 10 cubits and some 8. Above were high-grade stones cut to size and cedar beams.
All All right, so Josh, when we
Yeah.
look at this stone, and we're thinking about how much manpower would it have taken to do this, well, the Bible tells us that Solomon had 70,000 stone haulers, 80,000 stone cutters, 150,000 men working for 20 years to build the temple, its great courtyard, right?
Right.
And his palaces.
Right.
And so when you look at this much stonework, you go, how much labor is that? So Herod had about 150,000 man years of
Yeah.
labor doing his work. Solomon had 3 million man years of labor. 3 million man years. It's, you know,
Herod didn't have a drop in the bucket compared to what Solomon had access to.
yeah, 5% of the work that, so the work that Solomon, the Bible tells us Solomon did,
Yeah.
it would have taken Herod almost 2 centuries to do the same amount of work.
So when you look at the logic behind why it doesn't even make sense, the only acceptable reason that somebody could want Herod to have built it instead of Solomon is, well, I'll tell you why they want Herod to be the master builder. Because he wasn't from the Davidic line. Historians are still trying to declare that David and thus his son Solomon were fairy tales. And if there's no Davidic line, well, then there's no Jewish claim to the land. But more importantly, there's no messianic claim to the land. We see what you're trying to do here. Not today, Satan. Not today.
Really, it's hard to see this level of
Yeah.
sophistication in the 10th century.
Yeah.
Because really they kind of think that, you know, at least in the times of the late 1800s, it was more thought that must have been like the Greeks.
Right.
You know, it could have been the Romans. It couldn't have been Jewish level of sophistication, you know, probably at that time. You know, who knows, right? But what they missed was that Herod didn't build anywhere else with this kind of quality. But there is somebody that the Bible tells us did
Built with
build with this kind of stone, and it was Solomon.
And I think what's so incredible about that is what they don't take into account as to that time period having the sophistication or quality level is that they're not talking about the smartest man who ever lived. God gave this man the most wisdom. He's the richest man that ever lived. It 100% makes sense that he did this. And of course, he was doing this to last for all time, like you said, that Josephus said.
That's right.
Because he was building it for God.
He's building it for God. Yeah. So this was made, with the wisdom of Solomon. We still marvel at the work that's here. This should be one of the wonders of the world.
I wouldn't even know how today. I'm not a civil engineer, but I'm a big man. And this rock, it doesn't move. I need 3 million men to push this rock, and I still don't believe it's going to move. This place is incredible. The engineering, everything.
No,
It's awe-inspiring.
Every time I see it, it just,
Let's go.
All right.
Tell me more.
That was claustrophobic, but now we are out. We made it out of that passage, and we are at the southwest corner of the Temple Mount. This is where the fallen stones were knocked down from the Romans. You have Robinson's Arch back here. Christian, this is amazing. Many archaeological gems.
It really is. And this is probably the best place to see the magnificence of what was lost in 70 AD when the temple was destroyed. Because not only can you see these giant cornerstones here that are just, mind-boggling when you think about how large they are, how much they weigh, hundreds of tons. And, then you think about this archway, Robinson's Arch, coming from over here all the way down to these, where really the remnants of steps. You can see even behind me where they pavement broke because they fell down. It's just remarkable.
That's cool.
And so another thing that it shows you is just, again, how large this thing really is. And again, we were down below ground. You see this goes all the way down to bedrock. It's even deeper as you proceed north over here. So it really is something.
Now it's time to demystify another legendary building project, the infamous Robinson's Arch. This was a monumental staircase at the southwestern corner of the Temple Mount. It led from the lower market area over the Tyropian Street by way of a massive 16-foot wide arch to the Royal Stoa complex on top of the Temple Mount. Of course, the Romans destroyed it during the First Jewish-Roman War, but based upon the construction technique, this arch must have been built at the same time as the retaining wall for the Temple Mount. So whoever built the retaining wall is credited for building the arch as well.
All right, so there's the arch again, and really one of the reasons why early archaeologists didn't think that this maybe could be Solomon is because the arch goes from here all the way over to these steps, and that just seemed, you know, too great and too large of a construction project for, you know, Solomon's day. Like they just thought, no, you couldn't have had archways that magnificent in the 10th century. Yeah. And now we know that's not true, yeah. But somehow the argument for that day still stands, and people have kind of gone, oh, well then it must not have been Solomon because it wasn't possible. But clearly he was really, again, the only one who had the labor and the manpower to do a project like that.
That's crazy. Woo! Huge, huge, huge. One of the benefits of filming in Israel, this television program, is being in Israel. You know, you see what we do on camera when we teach, but behind the scenes, we get the opportunity every day, whether at lunch or dinner or in between takes, to talk with Israelis. Now, on this particular day, we were filming near the Dung Gate. Josh and I were on camera, and I'm looking beyond the camera and I see Hershey, you know, Rabbi Hershey. Off in the distance, he's surrounded by 50 IDF soldiers. And so I'm excited. I'm like, oh, I gotta get going. You know, I'm waiting for us to yell cut. And I see that Hershey starts praying with everybody. He's shaking everybody's hand. He's surrounded by these soldiers. And the scene's finally over. I get to rush over there. I'm running over to meet him. And these IDF soldiers, these kids turn around, they see this giant, you know, hairy Sasquatch coming toward them. And they're like, oh, Jesus, Jesus, Jesus. Like, no. But I do know Jesus. And afterwards, the commander came to us. He says, we're just about to go back into Gaza. And we came here to the hotel, to the Western Wall, so we could pray before we went to the thick of it. And it was just so touching, so amazing. And the next day, we saw on the news, one IDF soldier was killed when Hamas, they had a surprise attack against a group of IDF troops in Gaza. I don't know if these were the same soldiers that we spoke with, that we prayed with, but you never know who you're going to reach. You never know how many lives you can touch. And that's why we do our best to listen to the Holy Spirit and not miss a single opportunity when we're in Israel.
The Bearded Bible Brothers is an outreach of Zola Levitt Ministries. Visit levitt.com to subscribe to our monthly newsletter, The Levitt Letter, or call 1-800-WONDERS. Check out our resources we have available on our online store, or learn more about our tours to Israel, Greece, and Petra. You can also visit beardedbiblebros.com to subscribe to weekly digital updates through email and watch our online videos and content. Your donations and love gifts help us continue our mission to bring the gospel to the Jew first. We thank you for your faithful support.
This is fantastic. I'm so excited, and I'm so proud that I finally booked a trip to Israel to walk where Jesus walked.
It's about time. I told you, brother, it's about time. Oh, wow. Look at that. The figs taste like figs. The olives taste like olives. Oh, it's incredible.
Oh, man.
Mike, I told you to double zip tie. Hey everybody, I'm Joshua.
And I'm Caleb.
And we're the Bearded Bible Brothers. Clearly we're not in Israel now, but that's okay because we do film in Israel all the time. And guess what? We want to bring you along as well.
That's right. I remember my first visit to Israel. The terrain looks completely different than it does on camera. The depth, the height, the smells, Josh, even the spiritual climate. When you go to Jerusalem, you can visit the ruins of the places where Yeshua and the apostles taught and learned about the kingdom of heaven. You can sail the same Sea of Galilee where Yeshua calmed the waves. You can even visit the Valley of Armageddon at Megiddo to see where the final battle of the ages is going to be fought.
So turn off that Zoom background, click on the link below, and book your trip today. Not just to Israel. You can also add Petra in Jordan or go to Greece, where Paul went all around, and we go to those places as well. Schedule your tour today.
John 10, 22 through 23. Then came the festival of dedication at Jerusalem. It was winter, and Jesus was in the temple courts, walking in Solomon's colonnade.
This is magnificent, gentlemen. Look at all this space here. It doesn't look that big on camera sometimes, or when you're walking by it on the street. But here is the entrance to the temple complex, the former entrance, southern steps. People would go up here to enter onto the Temple Mount. And on this side is the Ophel, the administrative center for Judea. They had found so many amazing finds here going back to Solomon, and even to the time of King Hezekiah and Isaiah. They found their Bola clay seals with their inscription, their names on them. I mean, imagine that, verifying the prophet of the Bible and the king of the Bible by finding all this amazing evidence around us. This archaeology proves the Bible.
It sure does. Yeah, and Dr. Lot Mazar has dug a lot of this front area out and found all kinds of things, yes, going back exactly to his time. And yet, archaeologists still miss like the most obvious thing for Solomon, which is, you know, not only these entrances in the south, but again, these Solomon stables that connect through here. You can see these windows back here that cut across, but you can come in through this southern gate and you can actually work through these halls and the porch of Solomon. And we know that Solomon's portico, Solomon's porch, still existed even in the 1st century because it's mentioned in the Bible, right? That's where Jesus went to Solomon's portico.
Yep.
John and Peter went in Acts 3 to Solomon's portico. So like if it was still there in the 1st century, right, then it survived the destruction of Babylon, and then it's in the south, it's underneath the ground, it's still called Solomon's Stables. These southern gates are still there. They're part of all that. I mean, it's just amazing that we go, the best evidence for Solomon is this Temple Mount.
I think that's an amazing point that most people don't think about. It does say that Yeshua was walking in Solomon's portico. So that means that this structure would have had to have been there. This couldn't have been Herod's structure, Herod's wall. If they found Solomon's portico, these passages that are hidden behind there that only Muslims can get to, still evidence lying right now.
Yep.
Woo!
All right, let's go in the tunnels. You convinced me.
I think they're praying right now, and maybe
It's funny when you mention
don't want us
them,
to
and
go
they
up
just
there.
kind of show up immediately.
Of course, it's prayer time. Muslims have to remind you 5 times a day that they're occupying the Jewish Temple Mount. In fact, they know better than the archaeologists that Solomon's colonnade lies within the infamous Al-Aqsa Mosque. Although the mosque was built atop the ancient site and uses many of the ruins of Solomon's portico, there are still numerous tunnels that use the same stones from Solomon's time. Now, if you follow these passages, you eventually reach the Al-Marwani Mosque at the southeast corner of the Temple Mount. This area is also accessible from the top of the Temple Mount through large green doors that lead underground. But it is believed that this rebuilt area is the site of Solomon's palace, known as the House of the Forest of Lebanon. Unfortunately, archaeologists aren't allowed to explore these areas, and Muslims have spent decades trying to remove all evidence of the Jewish presence on Mount Moriah.
Well, guys, there is a lot of scholarly debate about this particular Eastern Gate here, because a lot of people say this is not the same Eastern Gate of Yeshua's time, the Second Temple period, let alone the First Temple period. You know, people claim to have dug a little bit under here, and they say they found, you know, another set of arches, that the real Eastern Gate is below there. And some even claim that they found further down south, directly across would be the entrance from the Dome of the Rock, the real gate that's hidden beneath the earth. What do you say, Christian? I know you have a very interesting theory about this.
Yeah, well, the first thing that you look at this gate and it's shut, just like the prophecy says in Ezekiel 44. You know, I look to the gate that faces east, and here it's shut. And this has been shut for 500 years, you know, and then in historic accounts before that, it was shut really as far as pilgrims visiting Jerusalem that we know about. And really, because we're on such a steep hillside, there's really no good reason to use this gate unless it's associated with the temple. Because right over there is the Lion's Gate, which the road, you know, coming from Jericho and over in Bethany, that's where it lines up to. And so you're gonna go the road way to enter the city. You're not gonna come over to this gate. There's just not a reason for it. But that's actually the most important thing that tells us that this gate has been there for all this time, is because every time pilgrims came to this city, they talk about this gate. Even back in 570 AD, the Piacenza pilgrim mentions this gate right next to the entrance from the east side, and it's a gate of the temple, you know, and talks about its entablature is still there. Well, we're looking at it right here. I mean, that's the amazing thing. But also, you know, even back to the time of Josephus, he mentions that the east gate wasn't destroyed. The east gate and the south gate were not destroyed in the destruction of the temple. So you've got that testimony. And then in Nehemiah, if people have read that account of the repairing of these walls and all the gates, it goes around the wall, makes a full circuit, and it describes each gate and who repaired it and which section of the wall the people repaired. Well, as it comes around to this side, it talks about the keeper of the east gate, and it talks about the portion of the wall that he repaired.
Yeah.
Nothing about repairing the east gate.
Oh, snap.
And so you go, well, why didn't it say anything? Because the east gate wasn't destroyed in the destruction of Babylon the first time. It wasn't destroyed the second time in 70 AD, and it's still here. And again, like we said, it's been walled up to try to stop the Messiah from coming in.
Wow.
You know, these graves placed in front of it, but they're not gonna stop it. And even the arches, the archway that was seen below this gate when someone fell into the tomb, James Fleming, I think that was just the archway of the support structure that would have made, a walkway up to this gate. But if you really tried to enter into a gate down below here, you'd be into the bedrock.
Okay, so that's where the mountain goes.
Yes,
right there.
so this really is the entrance.
Makes sense to me.
Yeah.
So this being the same gate from Solomon, from Yeshua, the presence of God going, that's pretty significant that it has to be the same from the beginning to the end. It's pretty cool.
So with the prophetic testimony, historic testimony, archaeological testimony, I think it's
Safe bet.
Now I know everyone is going to hate me for this. When has everyone not hated me for something on this show? But it is time for one of those massive cliffhangers, like in the movie Cliffhanger. Yeah, that one. Dr. Christian Widener is not done leading us throughout Israel on his expedition to uncover the truth to find evidence of Solomon's master building sites. But for those of you who can't wait an entire week to see the exciting conclusion, check out this preview of Finding Solomon, Part 2. Next week on the Bearded Bible Brothers.
That's a huge perimeter I see around here. It's like a fortress almost.
This is the birthplace of Israel right here.
And because of who's buried in that cave that you're talking about, it's such a holy place for the Jews here.
And I would call the Temple Mount still one of the eighth wonder of the world. And this is another one of the projects for Solomon's 150,000 men and the building projects that he made around Jerusalem. So we're in Herod's royal residence in the Western Palace, and this is true Herodian stonework.
Shalom.
Shalom.
Nothing can stop the prophetic coming of the Third Temple, but you can learn more about the intricacies surrounding its biblical fate with our resources in the Third Temple package. Included are Zola Levitt's past teachings from his book, Satan in the Sanctuary, the audio CD companion, Tribulation Temple, and the DVD series, The Temple. Use these tools as your guide to witness to the Jewish people before it's too late. For your donation of $60 or more, you can receive all three resources, or purchase them each individually. Call now or visit levitt.com for the Third Temple package.
Did you know the Bearded Bible Brothers is an outreach of Zola Levitt Ministries? That means we are entirely donor-funded. Consider giving at levitt.com. You can also join the Bearded Bible Bonanza to access additional content at patreon.com/Bearded Bible Bonanza. Please support our mission to spread the gospel of Yeshua by subscribing to our social media and sharing our online messages. Join the Bearded Brothers in person on a study tour of Israel, Greece, and Petra and see the Bible come alive. And as always, pray for the peace of Jerusalem.